My fiancée told me she didn't want my family at the wedding because she said they were embarrassing and her friends would judge her. I just replied, "All right." Then I invited 0 people, including myself. She found out at the altar. Sup, Reddit? My fiancé told me my family was too embarrassing to attend our wedding, so I agreed. Then I made sure no one showed up, including me. She realized what happened while standing at the altar in front of 200 guests. This is how everything unfolded. I'm a 31-year-old guy, a licensed plumber running my own small business in Phoenix. I started apprenticing right after high school, got my license at 23, and opened my own shop 3 years ago. It's nothing flashy, just solid, honest work that pays well enough. I've got 2 employees now, and we stay busy enough that we're usually booked about 2 weeks ahead. The shop is in a decent industrial area. Not glamorous, but the rent's fair and the location's central, so I'm not driving an hour to every job. I started out alone, working from my truck, handling residential calls and small repairs. I built my reputation by showing up on time, doing good work, and charging fair prices. Apparently that's rare. After 3 years of grinding and saving, I finally leased a small shop and hired my first employee. Tommy's a good kid, eager to learn and not afraid of the dirty parts of the job. My second hire, David, is older, a former union guy who wanted something calmer after 20 years on big commercial sites. Between the 3 of us, we handle everything from basic fixes to full bathroom remodels. My family is blue-collar through and through. My dad's a retired welder who spent 40 years building everything from bridge supports to custom railings. His hands are tough as leather, and he's got endless stories from job sites. My mom ran a diner for 30 years until her knees couldn't handle the long shifts anymore. She still remembers every regular's order and still calls people honey, without thinking. My older brother Jake works at the rail yard. He's been there since he was 20 and is now a supervisor running a crew of 15 guys. He's got a wife, 3 kids, and a modest ranch house close to our parents. He works hard, coaches Little League, and drives a truck he fixes himself, because that's just how he is. My younger sister Emma teaches 2nd grade at the same school we went to growing up. She's got the patience only someone who deals with 7-year-olds all day can have. She makes around $40,000 a year and thinks she's lucky because she loves her job. She lives in a small apartment with a rescue dog and way too many craft supplies. We're not rich or fancy. We're just working people who show up when someone needs help and don't pretend to be something we're not. When Jake's transmission failed last year, Dad and I spent the weekend fixing it in his driveway. When Emma needed help moving, the whole family showed up with trucks and pizza. That's how we are. Sunday dinners at my parents' house are basically mandatory unless you're dying. Mom makes pot roast with potatoes and carrots using the same recipe her mom taught her. Dad tells the same welding stories we've heard 100 times. We all tease each other about sports, tools, and borrowed equipment that never gets returned. The kids run around the yard, adults sit on the patio, and Dad mans the grill like he's running the world. It's loud, messy, and familiar. It's home my truck's paid off. My tools are top quality. I own a decent house in a good neighborhood. Nothing Instagram-worthy, but the mortgage doesn't keep me up at night. I live simply, work hard, treat people right, and take care of what's yours. I met my fiancée, Victoria, 29, 2 years ago at a mutual friend's engagement party. She worked in pharmaceutical sales, always polished, always knew exactly what to say. She had a presence that commanded attention, and she made good money doing it. New Lexus. Luxury apartment downtown with a doorman, gym, and rooftop pool. The first time I saw her, she was talking about some Bahamas resort like hopping on a plane for the weekend was totally normal. She wore a dress that probably cost more than my truck payment and heels that nearly made her my height. Everything about her screamed success. Our friend Kevin introduced us. He mentioned I was the plumber who saved his condo when his water heater flooded at midnight. She smiled, shook my hand firmly, and said Kevin told her I was very good at my job. At the time, it felt like genuine respect. Looking back, she was probably just good at making people feel appreciated, a skill you learn in sales. Our first date was at a downtown steakhouse she chose. Cloth napkins, multiple forks, and a wine list thicker than anything I'd ever read. The cheapest steak was $45. I felt out of place in her world, but she clearly enjoyed introducing me to it. She said she liked that I was grounded and real. At the time, I thought that meant she truly appreciated who I was. Later, I realized it mostly meant I wasn't like the corporate guys she usually dated. To be fair, she did ask thoughtful questions. She wanted to know how I got into plumbing, why I decided to start my own business, and what my long-term plans were. When I talked about expanding the shop, hiring more people, and building something stable, she seemed genuinely interested. She told me about her job in pharmaceutical sales, the pressure of hitting quotas, driving between medical offices, the travel, and the satisfaction of making sure doctors had what they needed for their patients. Our second date was more relaxed, coffee, and a walk downtown instead of a high-end restaurant. Without the fancy atmosphere, she was easier to talk to. She joked more, shared stories about difficult doctors and impossible sales targets. I told her about strange service calls, the wedding ring I once pulled out of a drain, the elderly woman who paid me with homemade cookies because she lived on a fixed income. By the third date, I was fully in. She was smart, funny, driven, and confident. She knew what she wanted and wasn't afraid to go after it. That kind of confidence is attractive when you're building something from the ground up. Things moved quickly. Within 6 months, we were talking about the future. She'd casually mention marriage, send me pictures of rings, forward links to wedding venues. I was 29, ready to settle down, and she checked a lot of boxes: attractive, successful, ambitious, and seemingly a good fit. I proposed on our 1-year anniversary. Nice restaurant, down on one knee, the whole deal. I spent 2 months' worth of profit on the ring because she'd made it clear she wanted something her friends would be impressed by. She cried, said yes, and immediately posted photos across every social media platform imaginable. That's when things started to change. Wedding planning began almost immediately, and Victoria went into full planner mode. Pinterest boards for everything: centerpieces, table settings, bridesmaid dresses, color palettes. She had a color-coded spreadsheet with tabs for budget, vendors, guest lists, timelines, and to-do items. I'll give her credit, she was incredibly organized. The wedding was set for 9 months out, which she said was cutting it close. We spent 2 weekends touring venues, ballrooms, gardens, historic estates, vineyards. Each place had its own coordinator walking us through packages and pricing. My role was simple: show up, nod, and write checks. My opinions didn't matter, not about centerpieces, menu options, music, or even chair covers. Apparently those were critical and cost extra, and I should just trust her vision. I figured that's how wedding planning worked. She knew this world better than I did. The budget grew fast. We started at $15,000, what we'd agreed on originally, thinking we'd keep things reasonable. Within a month, it jumped to $20,000. Victoria kept finding necessary upgrades: nicer linens, upgraded dinnerware, a premium bar package. "These chair covers are only $12 more per chair," she said. "They'll look so much better in photos." $12 times 120 chairs was over $1,400, for fabric people would sit on for a few hours. Still, I agreed because it mattered to her. Then the budget hit $30,000. The venue alone was $5,000 just for the day. Catering was $18,000 for 120 guests, $150 a plate. The photographer wanted $3,500, the videographer $2,500. Flowers were $4,000. The DJ cost $1,500. Transportation was $800. Invitations from some upscale stationery company were $600. I watched my business account shrink with every deposit. Money I'd saved to grow the shop, buy another truck, or hire more help. All going toward one day that was supposed to be about love but felt more like a status display. Whenever I questioned the costs, Victoria got defensive. "It's our special day. We only do this once. My friends will be there and I want everything to be perfect." What she didn't say, but clearly meant, was that her friends' opinions mattered more than our financial future. I suggested having the wedding at my church, where my family had been members for over 30 years. It was a large, beautiful building that could easily fit 200 people, and the rental fee was $500 for maintenance. She shut that idea down immediately. Too plain, too small. Not aesthetic enough for Instagram. That's when the real issues started, especially once we got to the guest list. Victoria came from money. Not billionaire money, but comfortable upper-middle-class money. Her dad worked as a financial consultant. Her mom was an interior designer for wealthy clients. They lived in one of those neighborhoods where every house looks like it belongs in a magazine. And in her parents' neighborhood, the HOA would fine you if your grass was even a quarter inch too long. They were polite to me, But there was always this underlying feeling that they were being generous by accepting their daughter's decision to marry someone below her level. Her dad would ask about my business in a tone that felt more like he was indulging a kid than having a real conversation. Her mom once suggested I look into commercial work, as if fixing people's homes wasn't respectable enough. Victoria's friends were no different. Lawyers, consultants, finance types. Everyone drove expensive cars, wore expensive clothes, lived expensive lives. The women treated me like some kind of novelty. The men did that overly firm handshake while asking what I did for a living. At engagement parties and bridal showers, I caught whispers. Once I overheard one of her friends say, "He's nice, but he's a plumber," followed by quiet laughter. Victoria never shut it down. My family, meanwhile, welcomed Victoria like she'd always been one of us, maybe a little too eagerly. Mom hugged her like a daughter she'd been missing. Dad immediately rolled out his worst jokes. Jake wanted to show her his new truck. Emma brought homemade cookies and a paint-by-numbers kit. As a welcome gift, Sunday dinners got even louder when Victoria came along. Everyone wanted to include her, get to know her, make her feel at home. We're already a noisy group, and wedding excitement only added to the chaos. I started noticing Victoria getting tense at these dinners. She smiled, but it never reached her eyes. She checked her phone constantly and often found reasons to leave early. When I asked her about it, she said she was just exhausted from work. I believed her. The first real crack showed up 3 months before the wedding. We were addressing invitations at her apartment. She had an elaborate setup, calligraphy pens, wax seals, the whole thing. Very social media ready. I was reading off addresses from my family list when she stopped me. "How many people from your side are we inviting?" She asked. "About 40, I said. "Like we talked about. Parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, and a few family friends." She set her pen down. "That feels like a lot. Your side has 70, I pointed out. "Yes, but those are important people," she said. "Business contacts, close friends, people who could be useful connections, people who matter." I paused. "My family matters to me, of course," she said quickly. "I just think we need to be strategic. We want the right kind of people at our wedding." The translation was clear. Not plumbers, welders, rail yard workers, or elementary school teachers. I let it go that night, but something cold settled in my stomach. A quiet certainty that this wasn't going to end well. 2 months before the wedding, Victoria started making comments. "Does your dad really have to wear a bolo tie? It's very regional. Your mom talks really loud. Maybe ask her to keep it down at the reception. Jake's kids are coming. Weddings aren't really appropriate for kids under 10." Each comment was framed like a harmless suggestion, but together they all said the same thing. My family was an embarrassment she was putting up with at first. I pushed back gently. I told her my dad loved his bolo ties, that my mom's volume was enthusiasm, and that Jake's kids were well-behaved and already invited. She'd sigh and say fine, but the sharpness in her voice made it clear she wasn't okay with any of it. Then came the final Sunday dinner before the wedding. My whole family was there, along with Victoria. Mom had gone all out on the meal. Dad bought nicer drinks than usual. Emma made a slideshow of photos of Victoria and me. It was sweet, maybe a little cheesy, but sincere. Everyone was laughing and talking over each other, just like always. Dad was in the middle of a welding story involving burned eyebrows and a near disaster with a propane tank. Mom kept interrupting to correct him. Jake's kids were showing Victoria their drawings. Emma was asking about bridesmaid dress alterations. I looked around the table and felt thankful. Loud, messy, imperfect, but full of love. This was my family. Victoria barely touched her food. She smiled, but it was the same polite smile she used with difficult clients. After dinner, she said she had a headache and needed to leave early. I offered to drive her home, but she insisted she was fine. I stayed back to help Mom clean up. While we were doing dishes, Mom asked quietly, "Is Victoria okay?" She seemed uncomfortable. "She's just stressed about the wedding," I said automatically. Mom gave me that look, the one that says she knows I'm lying to myself but loves me too much to push. The next morning, Victoria called and asked me to come over. Said we needed to talk about something important. Her tone told me it wasn't going to be good, careful, controlled, like she'd practiced what she was about to say. I went over expecting another wedding issue, maybe a vendor problem or a menu change. Something fixable. Instead, she sat me down on her spotless white couch, her expression serious enough to make my stomach drop. "Brandon," she said, "we need to talk about the guest list. I've been thinking and I really feel like we should limit how many people from your family attend." The words hung in the air while my brain caught up. Limited how? I asked. Just immediate family, she said. Your parents and siblings. No aunts, uncles, cousins, or family friends. I stared at her. My aunt who raised me after school, my uncle who taught me how to fix things, cousins who felt like siblings, people who'd been part of my life forever. She wanted all of them gone. You want me to uninvite people who have been there my whole life. It's not personal, she said. This wedding means everything to me. I need it to be perfect. What does that have to do with my family? She hesitated, choosing her words. They are very different from my family and friends. I'm worried about how it'll look. About the aesthetic, so you think my family is embarrassing. That's not what I said. That's exactly what you said. She got defensive. Think about it. Your dad telling loud stories. Your mom's voice carrying across the room. Kids running around. My colleagues will be there, important people. I need it to be elegant, so my family isn't good enough. I'm trying to protect you, she insisted. People will judge, you and me. That's when it really hit me. She thought she was doing me a favor by hiding my family. So what are you suggesting? I asked calmly. Just parents and siblings. That's reasonable, and everyone else who helped raise me just doesn't get to come. You're being dramatic. People cut guest lists all the time based on space and budget, I said. Not shame, she flushed. Your family doesn't fit the wedding we planned. The one we spent $30,000 on. You can compromise on this. The wedding she planned. The money I paid. The compromise that erased my life. You've known my family all along, I said quietly. You smiled through dinners while planning a wedding they weren't welcome at. I waited because I knew you'd react like this, she admitted. Everything's already booked. I thought you'd see reason. That's when something shifted. No anger, just clarity, okay? I said. She blinked. Okay, you're right. We should limit. My side relief spread across her face. She smiled. Thank you. I knew you'd understand. I left her apartment 10 minutes later. I drove home in silence. Sat in my truck for a long time, just staring ahead. My phone buzzed once. A text from Victoria. Please think about what I said logically. I love you. I went inside, opened my laptop, and started making calls. First, the venue. Patricia answered, cheerful as ever. I told her I needed to carefully cancel the wedding. Silence. Then paperwork. The $5,000 deposit was non-refundable, plus a 15% cancellation fee since we were under 90 days. Another $3,000, $8,000 gone for a vineyard I never wanted. I told her to process it and send confirmation. Second, the caterer. Raymond paused when I said there was no wedding. The $2,000 deposit was gone, and I was liable for 50% of the remaining contract. $10,000 total. I asked for the invoice and said I'd pay third, the photographer. Stephanie at least sounded genuinely sorry. The $1,500 deposit was forfeited since she'd blocked the date. I told her to keep it. Fourth, the florist. Diane was sweet about it, but between the $2,000 deposit and ordered materials, another $3,000 was gone. Fifth, the DJ. Kevin was sympathetic. He kept the $500 deposit, no extra fees. Sixth, transportation. The $400 deposit was non-refundable, but no additional charges. Seventh, the wedding planner Victoria insisted on. Gloria confirmed the wedding was off. The $1,500 already paid was non-refundable. I told her to cancel everything on her end. When I was done, I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by notes and invoices. I added it all up. Venue, $8,000 catering, $10,000 photographer, $1,500 florist, $3,000 DJ, $500 transportation, $400 planner, $1,500 plus invitations, tastings, and smaller deposits. About $26,000 gone just like that. That money was a third of my yearly income. A brand new truck, business expansion capital, a year of mortgage payments. Gone, completely gone, and honestly, worth it. Next, the invitations. Victoria had insisted on handling them herself, but I'd kept the master guest list. I opened it, 70 from her side, 40 from mine. I wrote a short email. Dear family and friends, we regret to inform you that the wedding scheduled for date has been canceled. Please do not send gifts or make travel arrangements. Thank you for understanding. I sent it to all 110 people. Then I blocked Victoria everywhere, phone, email, social media. Changed my locks. Put the ring she'd left at my place into my safe 4 hours. That's all it took to undo months of planning and $26,000. I felt nothing. No anger, no relief. Just certainty. The calls started almost immediately. Her friends, her parents, random guests. I ignored them all and eventually shut my phone off. I drove to my parents' house instead. One look at me and Mom knew. I told them everything. Dad was quiet, then said, "You did the right thing, cheap price to pay to find out who she really was." Mom just hugged me. Jake showed up later with food. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to that night. I turned my phone back on. Dozens of missed calls and messages. I deleted everything. The next morning, Victoria's father showed up at my door, furious. Accused me of humiliating her, wasting money, walking away from promises. I told him I wasn't marrying someone ashamed of my family. He tried to intimidate me, talked about lawyers and obligations. I closed the door in his face. The following week was chaos. Her friends dragged my name online, painted me as the villain. I didn't engage. When people asked, I kept it simple. She didn't want my family at the wedding. I disagreed. Wedding canceled. Some understood, some didn't. I stopped caring. Victoria tried everything to reach me, showing up, letters, messages. One email slipped through, full of apologies and explanations. It was too late. My family carried me through it. No pressure, no lectures. Just food, company, and support. The Sunday dinner that should have been right before my wedding felt normal. Loud. Loving. Exactly what I needed. 2 weeks later, the wedding date arrived. I woke up alone in my own bed, in my own house. No obligations, no regrets. I took my time that morning. Made a proper breakfast. Went for a long drive with the windows down. No rush. No stress. Around 11, my phone buzzed. It was my friend Dave. "Are you seeing this?" "Seeing what?" "Victoria's at the venue." Turns out she never told the venue the wedding was canceled. Or maybe she thought she could force it. Either way, she showed up in her wedding dress with her bridesmaids. Her family was there. Her 70 guests were there. I wasn't. Dave sent videos. Social media was already lighting up. Victoria standing at the entrance, confused. Bridesmaids on their phones. Guests awkwardly waiting. The coordinator explaining the event had been canceled 2 weeks earlier. Victoria insisted it was a mistake. Her dad started yelling. Her mom was crying. Eventually, the coordinator pulled out the cancellation paperwork, my signature, the date, everything. Showed it to her in front of everyone. The look on her face went from confusion to realization to pure anger. She tried calling me. I watched my phone ring and didn't answer. Online. The story changed depending on who told it. Some said I left her at the altar. Others blamed miscommunication. Victoria claimed I'd had a breakdown. The truth came out anyway. Too many people knew what she'd said about my family. One of her own bridesmaids admitted it publicly. By Monday, I was back at work like nothing happened. Kitchens, bathrooms, sewer inspections. Real work, honest work. The kind that doesn't care about appearances. My apprentice asked if I was okay. I said, yeah, just a canceled wedding. We got back to work. Victoria tried for another month. Flowers, letters, showing up unannounced. Even had her mother call mine. Nothing worked. My mom shut that down fast. 6 weeks later, Victoria showed up at Sunday dinner, uninvited. The room went silent. She asked to talk. Apologized, said she'd been wrong, said she loved me. My parents didn't hesitate. Neither did my siblings. You don't insult a family, then expect forgiveness when it suits you. I told her to leave. Jake stood up to make sure she did. She walked out crying. That was the last time I saw her. I heard later she moved to another city and started over. I hope she found what she was looking for. As for me, life went on. The business grew. I hired another apprentice, upgraded equipment, and started taking on bigger jobs. Sometimes the most expensive lessons are the ones that save you the most in the long run.